And in love before you laid the world's foundation, you predestined to adopt me as your own. You have raised me up so high above my station. I'm a child of God by grace and grace alone.
Hello, my name is Pastor Jeremy, and I'm the pastor at Church of the Open Bible. And along with Ethan Jones, we've been going through the book of Ephesians on our Church of the Open Bible podcast. And we're grateful that you've joined with us today. I've coached and reffed a number of sports. I enjoy sports. And one of the sports that I've been able to get more involved in is soccer. And I ref soccer for a number of years. And it doesn't take long as a ref to get a pretty good sense of how well certain coaches coach. And one of the signs of a good coach is instruction that is specific and attainable. Take, for example, this instruction. Samuel, do better. Okay, well, this might indicate to Samuel that he's not playing well enough, but it's pretty much useless beyond that. Now, what would be helpful is to instruct Samuel on how he can play better, right? Samuel, play the ball down the sides. Okay, now Samuel knows how he can play better. And this goes well beyond soccer and coaching. We've all felt that frustration of being given generalities when it comes to either our jobs or being in our homes and even as believers. And we're called to follow Christ, and sometimes that seems so vague. We need specific instructions. What does that look like? What am I called to do specifically? Well, Paul helps us out here. We've been working our way through Ephesians, and the letter starts out big by declaring God's grand plan for creation and bringing all things together under Christ, his reign. And then Paul starts to clarify how that is happening. And he shares that it's happening in the church as Christ's body, that the church is a reflection of God and is being built into a temple where God dwells. And so more specific, but still we might wonder what that means for you and me, or how that building is being built, how that body grows. Well, Paul begins to get more specific in chapter 4. Paul describes how the body, the church, grows and is being built. And he tells the Ephesians that it's done in love. Love is the context, the environment of the functioning of the church. And in the first 6 verses, we'll find a call for selflessness in love. Let's look at the first 3 to start. I, therefore, a fellow prisoner for the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Paul urges his readers that since they've surrendered themselves to the Lord, since they have a relationship with him, they should live a life worthy of that calling. Relationship precedes responsibility, but there is responsibility, and Paul tells them that they should walk in a way that is selfless and promotes unity. Humility, gentleness, and patience are dispositions that promote unity, right? They're opposites. Pride, aggressiveness, and intolerance destroy unity. This is how you should walk. And then Paul tells them why. Look at verse 4. There is one body and one spirit, just as you were called to the one hope that belongs to your call, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. They are to be selfless and promote unity in the body because their unity reflects the unity of the Godhead. Remember, God's grand plan to unite all things under Christ. And if the church has been designed to reflect and spread this unity now, then believers are expected to live consistent with this purpose. We're expected to walk in unity. How? Well, by being humble, gentle, patient. And this betrays the truth that selfishness destroys unity. From the soccer pitch to the marriage relationship, from the playground to the coffee room, selfishness destroys unity. In order to have unity as a team, it requires a level of humility, that it's not all about me. In order to have unity as a team, it requires a level of gentleness, that there should be respect. And in order to have unity as a team, it requires a level of patience to work well as a team. This is what it looks like to walk united. Selflessness in love. Then in the next 6 verses, Paul begins to talk about unity in diversity. But grace was given to each one of us according to the measure of Christ's gift. Therefore, it says, when he ascended on high, he led a host of captives and he gave gifts to men. In saying he ascended, what does it mean but that he had also descended into the lower regions, the earth? He who descended is the one who also ascended far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the shepherds, and teachers to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ, until we all attain to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to mature manhood, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. Here Paul describes service through love. In verse 7, Paul tells us that Christ has measured out to each one of us grace. This is not the grace we received of salvation. It's the grace or gift of service. Remember chapter 2, verse 3, and how Paul describes his role. He says, assuming that you have heard of the stewardship of God's grace that was given to me for you. So we've all been given a gift of grace, what some have called spiritual gifts. And when we take this in light of the call for unity in the previous verses, it becomes obvious that in the church, unity does not mean uniformity. Togetherness does not mean sameness. If that were so, the church would resemble a butcher shop rather than a functioning body. Individuals are unique, and so Christ's gifting is also unique. It is measured out, perfectly fitted for each person. In verses 8 to 10, emphasize that Christ is the giver of these gifts. He's victorious over sin and death, the depths of the earth, and as a conquering Lord, he has the right to bless his people with gifts. And Paul uses Psalm 68 to illustrate this gift-giving by Christ. This is service through love, and firstly, we have Christ as the gift giver. Then Paul describes the gifts of some in verse 11. He says, leaders, apostles and prophets as the foundation upon which the church is built, evangelists, pastors or shepherds and teachers. These are leaders, and note that these are only some of the gifts, and these gifts are given for a specific purpose in verse 12, to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ. These gifts have been given to prepare or equip God's people to serve. And so the saints, or God's people, minister and serve. Christ gives, the leaders equip, and the saints minister. And when this happens, the body is built, maturity results, and Christ-likeness is attained. Unless we think that the work or ministry is done by the small few mentioned as equippers, jump down to verse 16. From whom the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, when each part is working properly, makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. The work is done by each part, each individual. So what's your gift? Well, it says right here, verse 7, but grace was given to each one of us according to the measure of Christ's gift. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you need to take a spiritual assessment. Maybe you don't care about what your gift is. But look at what's at stake. It's the growth of the body, unity for all, maturity for all, Christ-likeness for all. So what's your gift? In these verses, we see selflessness in love, we see service in love, and then the success of love at the end of our passage. We read in verse 14, so that we may no longer be children, tossed to and fro by the waves, and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning and craftiness in deceitful schemes. Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, when each part is working properly, makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. Paul elaborates on the stakes of our selflessness in service. He contrasts being children with growing up into Christ. So what is the cause of being blown around and led astray? Well, it's not that Christ hasn't given us gifts. He has. It's either because leaders aren't equipping and or the saints aren't ministering, using those gifts. That's what happens. There's real danger when we do not use our gifts. Danger for the body. And then in verses 15 through 16, they've beautifully described what happens when things are working the way they should, when God's people are walking the way they should. Christ empowers, but the working is done by each part. And the result is the church building itself up in love. Selflessness in love, service through love, and the success of love. So exercise your gift. That's my encouragement to you. And you might say, okay, Pastor Jeremy, be more specific. Okay, well, the best way to exercise your spiritual gift is to fold yourself into a local church. Like we see in our passage, the early church didn't have spiritual gift assessments. Not that those are wrong. No, but they got involved in the lives of others in their gathering, their church. And as you love God and others well, you will naturally exercise your gift. Without submitting, allowing other believers to truly know you, correct you, and affirm you, it will be difficult to know, never mind exercise your gift. So in order to exercise your gift, you need to be involved wherever that is. And as we do so, may we seek to serve selflessly, and may the unity that results reflect the unity of God Himself and for His glory. Go in peace.